Hey everybody, it's Sensei Sid with Fields Karate. Senpai Danny is with me again today, and we're going to show you one more defense against a front chokehold. But before we jump into that, I want you to remember a couple of things. As you train with these and as you practice them, make sure it's with a partner that you can trust, who takes it seriously, who's not going to try to hurt you in the process, and make sure that both of you practice a ton of self-control. This is one of those things that you want to do it over and over and over a million times, but you have to control it because you don't want to hurt each other. And with these chokes and these defenses, it's very easy to hurt each other if you go hard at all. Now, the last two choke defenses that we've talked about, the snake and the Superman, both have some limitations. If you have someone who's way taller than you, the Superman doesn't work very well. If you have someone who's way shorter than you, then the snake doesn't work so well. But what we're going to show you today works for pretty much anybody. If they're the same height, way taller, way shorter, somewhere in between, it doesn't really matter. And one of the interesting things, and one of the reasons I love this particular technique, we call it the windmill, is because it comes directly out of one of our kata. If you've seen many of our videos, you know that we focus a lot on kata as a way to practice. And in our kata empe, we start from here, we turn and we do a windmill as we drop to one knee. And that is the technique that we're going to use for this. That's where we get it from. So for this, Danny's going to choke again. And just like before, I'm going to grab with my weak side hand. But this time I'm going to take my strong hand, my right hand for me. If you're left-handed, it'll be your left hand. It works both sides. And I'm going to ball it up and I'm going to tap my thigh. And then I'm going to swing way up, and I'm going to turn that same direction. Again, all three of these, you turn your hips and your shoulders, and I'm going to keep this elbow straight, and I'm going to make the widest circle over my head, just like a windmill that I possibly can. And I'm going to strip it straight down. And if you notice, if I hold his hand with my weak side hand and keep it pinned to my chest, I now have both of his hands trapped. But I'm going to bring it down as far as I can. And remember too, when someone puts their hands around your throat outside of training, it's deadly force. So before I take my leave, I've neutralized the immediate threat, but before I get out of town, I want to make sure he can't follow me. So just like we did with the Superman, I'm going to reach out, slide in, and I'm going to throw an elbow strike to the side of his head. Now again, if you have some advanced training, you have a ton of options. And if you needed to continue the fight, you could. But if you don't have a good reason to continue that fight, nail him in the head, make sure he can't follow you, and then run. Get out of that fight. You don't want the fight, especially with someone who just tried to take your life. So, for demonstration again, Danny-san, if you would choke, I'm going to grab, tap my thigh, turn, and I'm going to keep that elbow straight. This is very important. If I bend this elbow right here, all of a sudden I lose a ton of strength. I lose a ton of leverage. So I'm going to keep that elbow straight all the way through, and it just peels both hands right off my neck. Now, it doesn't really matter how strong they are. If they're a lot bigger than you, if they're a lot stronger, the amount of leverage that you're creating by keeping that arm straight and using that windmill and turning your shoulders at the same time, I've had people 3 times my size choke me and put some real pressure on, and they could not hold it. So just as a demonstration, Danny-san, if you would, put some real pressure on this time. Hold it. Okay, grab. Now, that did not take much effort on my part, and it's not because Danny is weak. In fact, Danny is probably stronger than I am. But with this technique, because you're depending on the technique and the leverage it produces, doesn't matter how big your opponent or your attacker is. If you do this calmly, they cannot hang on. So one more time, Danny, if you would choke, pressure, grab, swing around, turn your body, pull it down. Okay? Now, as I'm doing this, I'm doing it pretty slowly. This is the speed at which you would want to do it. Choke one more time. Okay? You don't want to hesitate. You don't want to do it slowly, though you can do it slowly. But in a real situation, you want to do it pretty fast. but not so fast that you mess it up. There's a fine balance there. And if you do any training with us, we talk about that balance all the time. You can do things super fast, but sometimes it's not super correct. And if you can do it fast but not correct, it still doesn't work. So practice this, find a training partner that you can work on this with, and do it. And again, over and over and over. Now, if you wanted to pull just one of these techniques, one of the 3 chokeholds, and practice just that one, this is the one to practice. Because this one works on just about anybody. If they're much bigger, if they're much smaller, it doesn't matter. Once you've gotten used to it, you can do this technique, and really you can do all 3 of them if you're pinned up against a wall. If you are pinned to the ground, this one will work. You have to do some variations, but you can make these work. But if you have to pick one or want to focus on just one of them, use the windmill. Okay? It is the one that has the best likelihood of working for you. I almost want to say guarantee. I hesitate to do that with any technique because there's so many variables, but this is the one that works almost every time in almost every front choke situation you could find yourself in. So find yourself a trustworthy training partner, take it seriously, go through it slow, but practice this until it's natural reaction. If it's natural reaction, and you are less likely to panic, and panic is what really will get you hurt in a situation like this. But remember that after you do it, if you ever have to use this, throw that strike to the head and do it hard. Make sure they can't follow you. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate you watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.